Now in February 2017 I did a long-term review of the Triumph T120, and at that time I thought I had a pretty good handle on what the bike was and what the bike wasn't. But as this year's gone on, I feel as though I've got to grips with the bike, and I thought it was time that I did an update on that original long-term review that I did. It's almost the new year, and in a couple of days' time we're going to be in 2018, and I've actually had the bike a year since last August. Now since February I feel as though I've got to know this bike intimately, not just by riding it but by the general maintenance and the uses that I've put the bike to. It's proven itself to be very capable and so far reliable. And the convenience factor of a bike like this compared to one of the big tourers can't be understated. Now this long-term review wouldn't be complete without a mention of this front wheel brake squealing problem that has been the bane of many owners of this model motorcycle. Triumph strung us along for almost 2 years saying that they were working on a fix for this problem. And to be quite honest, I think they stretched it well beyond the realms of probability, while owners patiently sat waiting after paying large amounts of money out for these bikes for Triumph to come forward and say, right, we've found a fix for this problem with the brakes. And Triumph actually never did. And to be quite honest, I don't think they ever were looking for a solution to this problem because they knew damn well what the problem was. Now after publishing that video, a lot of people got in touch with me, and I mean a lot of people, that were literally being driven mad by this brake squeal. But the flip side of that as well was that there were a lot of people getting in touch to say that they'd never encountered it, it had never been a problem. And at first it seemed that it was very hit and miss as to whether you got one of those bikes that had this problem or not. But then a common story started to present itself. And that was that some dealerships on selling a new T120 to a customer were advising them to brake late and hard for the first few hundred miles to avoid this problem. One customer even lamented to me that he was told it would invalidate his warranty regarding this problem if he didn't. Now for me, this kind of riding goes against the grain because it's dangerous. But I decided to give it a go, and for about 150-200 miles I adopted this brake late and hard regime, and sure enough the brake squeal went away and never came back. Now it would appear that there was a slight mismatch between the compound in the brake pads and the grade of metal used to construct the front brake discs. So under normal gentle braking, which is the way you should normally be braking, it was causing the pads to glaze and preventing them from bedding in properly. This meant that you was getting a resonance on brake and disc contact, which was causing this squeal. Now the dealerships that were advising this regime of braking were obviously going against Triumph's policies on this matter, because for obvious reasons Triumph could hardly be seen to advise its customers to drive in a reckless manner in order to rectify what was, after all, a warranty issue. Now, these kind of braking problems, especially with new models, are not uncommon. It does happen, and I've come across this before with other bikes from other manufacturers. But the difference between other manufacturers and Triumph is that whereas Triumph stick their head in the sand and then lie to the customers, hoping that the problem will eventually go away, other manufacturers put their hands up to it and they find a solution to the problem. And an instance that immediately springs to mind was a problem that BMW had with their brakes a few years ago, which resulted in them providing a free set of replacement pads to rectify problems that they were experiencing with the brakes. Now, this isn't just my opinion. Just a look through the forums going back 10 years or more provides all the proof that you need that this is the normal way that Triumph tends to deal with warranty issues on their bikes. And their customer care is regarded by many as being possibly the worst in the industry. And it's that attitude which keeps Triumph from reaching that top spot as a prestige motorcycle manufacturer. Because it doesn't matter how good your bikes are, if you don't look after your customers when they have a problem with that bike, you will never be regarded as a prestige motorcycle manufacturer. So that brings us on to the issue with water getting into the instrument or the clocks on the bike. I'm not going to waste an awful lot of time on this. I've had 3 sets of clocks, all of them have leaked. The 4th set arrived at my local dealership. I've tried 3 times to make an appointment to get it booked in and get it sorted out. On each occasion I was told the person that I needed to speak to book it in wasn't available and he would ring me back, and on each occasion he didn't ring me back. So to be quite honest, I've given up, life's too short. The set of clocks that I have at the moment are the best that I've had so far, in that they only missed up slightly. I shall just put up with it, and if at some stage in the dim and distant future these clocks pack up, I'll simply have a look around to see what the aftermarket has to offer. The wiring on the bike itself isn't of the best quality. In a lot of places the various harnesses and looms are just fastened together with what I would describe as very cheap and tacky electrical tape, the sort of stuff that you can pick up in bulk at a pound shop or thrift store, which tends to unravel at the slightest hint of moisture. And I'm currently going through an ongoing program of each time I find a piece of the wiring that's suffering from this problem, I'm rebinding it with something of a better quality. I also noticed when I removed those silencers a few months ago that there was some significant paint damage to the rear brake caliper, and it looked like the caliper had actually probably spent a week on the factory floor being kicked around by various people. But they figured that the silencer would hide it and the owner would never know about it. Well, guess what, Triumph? I know about it. So that's the negative stuff out of the way. What about the bike itself? Actually, faults aside, this bike is quite spectacular. It's one of those bikes that just instinctively feels right once you set off on it. Everything's exactly where it should be. It's smooth and it's responsive, and it handles in a way that would almost have you believe that it's thought controlled. The gearbox is slick, smooth and precise, and what initially felt like a strange choice of gear ratios actually sets this bike up to be one of the best backroad scratchers I've ever ridden. Those of you who just like to get up into top gear and leave it there are going to be disappointed with a bike like this, because this bike does demand that you use the gearbox. This is a rider's bike. It's not designed to be a commuter, although it can do that. I've heard a few complaints about the Pirelli Phantom tyres, but to be quite honest, I can't fault them. They're very sure-footed and confidence-inspiring tyres, and the fact that they are quite a deep, tall tyre initially makes up for the inadequacies of the suspension system. Now, you can't put bargain basement suspension on a bike and call it a prestige bike, but that's exactly what Triumph have tried to do here. Initially, I thought the suspension was okay, adequate, but as time went on and those springs relaxed and the suspension bedded in, it soon became obvious that it left a lot to be desired. If you're a lightweight and you don't carry a pillion, you're probably going to get on okay with it. Otherwise, you soon find yourself tensing up at every pothole that you can't avoid, because those front forks bottom out far more often than any other bike I've ever ridden. And eventually you find the rear suspension leaves you with only 2 choices. Rock hard and uncomfortable as you whack the preload up as hard as it'll go to try and do justice to the bike's handling, or soft and bouncy at anywhere below midway preload that leaves the bike wallowing on long sweeping bends with a back end that just doesn't seem to work in harmony with the chassis. Thankfully, there are some cost-effective solutions to this problem, though it should be argued that on a bike costing £10,300, this shouldn't be something that you have to do. And that's where the conflict occurs between Triumph's sales hype on this bike and the actual realities of what this bike is like to own. In truth, Triumph have designed this bike as a platform on which you can improve by customization. And I'm glad they did, because I'm having a whole world of fun gradually turning this bike into the bike of my dreams. But at the same time, they've priced this bike to be the perfect bike straight out of the box, and it isn't. In fact, to my mind, for what it is, it's overpriced by at least £1,500. Okay, a lot of the changes that I've made to this bike haven't been out of necessity. They've been down to preference or to my idea of what is an aesthetic improvement. I would say 60 to 70% of new owners are going to be looking to upgrade the suspension within the first year. Then there are other annoying little bits and pieces. For example, the front brake lever is a reasonable quality Nissan product. It looks the part and it does the job well, but when it came to choosing a clutch lever, it would appear that Triumph just went onto eBay and bought a job lot from a Chinese company that makes parts for BMXs. In fact, there was such a mismatch, you could easily be forgiven for thinking that they didn't even come from the same motorbike. The stock mirrors were useless and had to be replaced. Now, to my mind, the T120 is a brilliant bike that's been let down by a few cheap manufacturing processes and lack of thought at the design stage. It will do just about anything that you want it to do, whether that be commuting to work, riding for fun, or even touring long distances. There are plenty of people that are going to be perfectly happy with the T120 as it is out of the box. But there are also people like me who, for the price tag, expect more for the money. If this bike was just any other bike, any naked Japanese all-rounder, it would without a doubt have fallen at the first hurdle. And it certainly wouldn't have been the sales success that this bike is. But there are two things that set this bike apart from other bikes. One is the name, Triumph Bonneville, and the other is the way it looks. Triumph have recreated an icon. It's the choice of TV and film, and it regularly appears in movies. And any A-list celebrity who rides a bike has a Bonneville in his or her garage. And that is the appeal of the Triumph Bonneville. It's not what it is, but what it stands for. Motorcycling is all about the feeling that motorcycling gives to you as a rider. And in that respect, the Bonneville delivers in spades. The custom parts industry has taken the Bonneville into its heart, and the choice of mouth-watering parts to adorn your bike continues to grow. And in that respect, that's where the Bonneville wins you over. It makes you cast aside price and practicality. It's not about value for money, it's about the value that it adds to your life as a biker. It's a thing of beauty that continue to evolve throughout your ownership, and the signs on the second-hand market certainly indicate at the moment that they are a good investment because they don't lose much in value second-hand. I don't like Triumph, the company, but I love the Bonneville, and I love the fact that I have one in my garage. I've enjoyed customising this bike over the last 12 months, and to be honest, this is a project that I don't think will ever end because I don't think I'll ever finish it. And that's the attraction of it, the never-ending possibilities of off-the-shelf customization. Right, I think I've waffled on for far too long as it is. I hope you've enjoyed this video and I hope that you found it useful. I'll be back next week on Wednesday with part 4 of the Payday Project series. I would like to thank everybody that's watched my videos and subscribed to my channel over the last 12 months. It really does mean a lot to me, and I'm really looking forward to 2018. If you did enjoy this video, please leave a like and please subscribe to my channel. As always, thank you for watching. Ride safe, and I'll see you next time.